Now, I'm a big fan of Ninja Gaiden. I grew up with the franchise from the original arcade release to the NES trilogy, all the way to the 2004 well, at the time it was called a remake. It's actually a prequel to the NES trilogy, but I'm a massive fan of Ninja Gaiden. So much so that, well, I own this. Anyways, I love Ninja Gaiden so much that I even got my copy of Razor's Edge for the Wii U, signed by my good buddy Troy Baker, the voice of Ryu Hayabusa in this game. But yeah, I love Ninja Gaiden so much, especially Ninja Gaiden 2. This is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. It is ridiculous how much this showed that the 360 was just struggling in a lot of areas. And also, it could be poor optimization, but I love Ninja Gaiden 2. And I also love Sigma 2, which is kind of controversial to say within the Ninja Gaiden fandom because a lot of people absolutely put this on the pedestal and then they want to burn this with righteous holy fire, right? Go look at the Reddit threads and you'll see the people that are just, yeah. But anyways, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was recently announced and it recently came out, and I got to play it across 3 different platforms. I got to play it on Xbox Series X as well as on PC via Xbox Game Pass. I am a PC Game Pass partner. And also, I got to play it on the PlayStation 5 and 5 Pro, courtesy of Koei-Tecmo. Shout out to them for providing me a review copy of the game. But that game is essentially marketing itself as a definitive way to play Ninja Gaiden 2. Even though the core of the game is based off of Sigma 2 and not really 2, but this, in my opinion, if I'm being completely honest, and I know the Ninja Gaiden fandom's gonna come at me with pitchforks, but I think Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is the perfect amalgamation and chimera of putting these two very distinctly different games together into one package. And that's what we're going to talk about today. None other than Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. So again, shout out to Koei-Tecmo for the review copy. And let's go ahead and talk about this phenomenal yet controversial game. Let's go ahead and lock in. There are always franchises that we yearn to see make a triumphant return, and for me personally, Ninja Gaiden is at the very top of that list. I've spent years scouring the internet for any sign of a comeback, and while the 2021 re-release of Ninja Gaiden Master Collection offered a nostalgic trip, it only deepened my craving, especially since it was based on the Sigma versions, which many fans consider inferior due to the censorship and gameplay modifications such as reduced enemy density and the purple mist. Oh my god, that was so annoying. But I think the reason that was done, and look, I'm not some type of technical wizard understanding the full, scope of game development, but I think this was done just because the PlayStation 3 could not handle everything that Ninja Gaiden 2 on the 360 could do. That's as best as I can surmise as to the reason why. But man, I hated the purple mist. I'm like, give me the blood. But here's the thing: Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 Plus on the PlayStation Vita kind of rectified that slightly, although it still had purple mist in many areas. But I think that was a better game than the PlayStation 3 version, which the Master Collection version of Sigma 2 was actually based on the PlayStation Vita version of Sigma 2 Plus. So we kind of got the definitive version of Sigma. But yeah, let's keep going with this review. Then came an unexpected announcement at the Xbox developer event. Team Ninja not only confirmed Ninja Gaiden 4, set for a full release this fall, but also surprise launched a full remake of Ninja Gaiden 2, remade in Unreal Engine 5 entitled Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. This release rekindles the franchise's legacy in a way that longtime fans such as myself have dreamed of. It also brought in a lot of you Soulsborne bros who think that just because you play a Souls game that you can play any difficult game. No, you can't. No, those skills don't transfer over to Ninja Gaiden. Get good or be a ninja dog. The black subtitle has always signified the definitive edition of a game, But does this remake live up to that standard? Originally released over 16 years ago, Ninja Gaiden 2 now boasts a stunning Unreal Engine 5 makeover. The visuals are sharp, detailed, and filled with enhancements that breathe new life into the experience. Small touches like the particle effects when casting Ninpo, which is the game's magic system, add an extra layer of immersion, making each battlefield more dynamic and intense. Now, for my initial playthrough, when this game was first announced and stealthily dropped, I played this on the Xbox Series X and then on my PC, courtesy of Xbox Game Pass. I am a Xbox Game Pass, specifically the PC Game Pass partner, and I played it, absolutely loved it. I streamed it, I made a bunch of content for it, and I had a great time. But at the same time, I wanted to play this on the PlayStation 5. And so I reached out to Koei-Tecmo. I was like, hey, can I get a review copy of the game? They're like, hey, yeah, cool. Here you go for PlayStation 5. And I'm like, cool, sweet. I'm about to play this game all the way through. I already put hundreds of hours into the original versions of Ninja Gaiden 2 and Sigma 2, but the Xbox Series X / PC Game Pass version of this game, of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, I put a good 50 hours into, and now I'm going back and I played it as we're speaking, and I'm still playing it just because the game is that damn good. I'm playing it on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro, and I think I've clocked at least 30 hours so far, which is why this review is coming so late, because I got to put the controller down, and you know, I'm using my Hex gaming controller because like I'm not trying to get stick drift, and it's got the anti-stick drift Hall effect sensors in it. But nonetheless, the game, especially on the highest difficulty, is hard. If you play it on, you know, standard, like normal difficulty, it is, I gotta go ahead and say this right now, it is easier than base Ninja Gaiden 2, which is already balls hard out of the gate, and also easier than Sigma 2. But yeah, now you know. So I can definitely say this, that when I played it on the Xbox Series X and also played it on PC, I really didn't run into any major significant issues. I didn't really run into any slowdown or performance dips, and I ran it on my Xbox Series X as well as PC at 120 frames per second. I didn't get any performance dips. The only thing I did run into is occasionally, like, I guess shadows would just like become boxy and whatnot. I'm not sure if that was due to like shaders or anything like that, but that did occur to me on those versions of the game, and it occasionally occurred on the PlayStation 5 version as well as when I played on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So I'm not sure what causes that. You know, if you guys understand what it is, please let me know in the description down below, or not in the description, the comment section down below. But nonetheless, I did run into that. But other than that, it ran fine. So I can confidently say that regardless of whether you're playing this on the PlayStation 5, 5 Pro, Xbox Series X, or if you're playing it on PC, I can't speak to playing it on the Series S because one, I don't own the Series S, and two, I don't own a Series S, so I can't really test it on there. But yeah, the game runs at either 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, depending on your settings and display capabilities. Now, I connected this to my Vizio 4K TV with HDR and 120 hertz refresh rate, and I consistently average at 80 to 120 frames per second. I even tried this on an ultra-wide Acer Predator gaming monitor that's 34 inches, and it looked great. I didn't know that this game was optimized for ultra wide monitors, but yes, it is completely optimized for ultra wide monitors, and I love it for having that functionality built into it. All right, we got to get back to the gameplay. And the true highlight of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is its exhilarating combat. Now, like past entries, the game rewards mastery of enemy patterns and intricate combos. While button mashing can carry you a little bit through weaker encounters, true success demands precise execution, which is akin to playing a fighting game. You got to learn the combos, you got to utilize counters, and you got to exploit enemy weaknesses. This is going back to what I said about the whole mentality of the Soulsborne type gamer. Boss fights, however, remain a difficult point, even for me coming back to this game almost 20 years later. As many are unmemorable and lack the impact that are found in the series' best battles. Demon Metallic Train from the Eiffel Tower stage. I'm looking at you. very unmemorable. Same thing with the giant fire armadillo. That was so left field, and just this game just has so many of those moments where like the bosses that you fight just don't make sense. And this is not an issue in Ninja Gaiden 1 or Black or even Sigma 1. It's also not an issue, well, I mean, Ninja Gaiden 3 already has a ton of issues as it is. But nonetheless, there's a level of consistency that 1 and 3 have that 2 just doesn't have, if you understand what I mean. Now, I have to say that some of the weaker boss fights from the original have been removed in this remake, which does streamline the experience a bit. Although if you're looking for boss fights that were incorporated from Sigma 2, they're also not there either. So, this is a give and take. If you got this on Xbox, like, honestly, if you have an Xbox series, then you can literally play OG2, Sigma 2, and this. And then you can decide for yourself which version of the 3 different takes on this game do you want to play. Another common critique, especially amongst the newcomers, is the camera. At times, it obstructs visibility, leading to unnecessary damage or deaths, and this issue is particularly frustrating for players expecting their Soulsborne reflexes to translate seamlessly into Ninja Gaiden, only to be humiliated and humbled by its unique demands. Unlike Souls games, Ninja Gaiden requires constant adaptation and true mastery of its mechanics. Now, personally, I don't have those issues, but then again, I've been playing the modern Ninja Gaiden games for over 20 years, so a lot of it's kind of just baked into muscle memory. Like, if I want to do the Izuna drop, I'm gonna hit depending on what I'm playing. If I'm playing with an Xbox or a PlayStation controller, I'm going to do square, triangle, square, 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 triangle, and there we go. If I'm playing with an Xbox, well, I gotta find one. Xbox controller, I'm going to do X, Y, X, 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 and Y, and then there we go. Just that simple. Now, I got to touch back on the difficulty of this game, as Ninja Gaiden is synonymous with being balls hard. Though the challenge varies depending on the version. The Sigma releases are generally considered easier due to redesigned levels and reduced enemy density, whereas Ninja Gaiden 2 Black retains many elements from Sigma, making it truthfully a bit more accessible for newcomers. I do suggest playing on normal for a balanced experience, but if you're someone who is used to playing Ninja Gaiden, or if you're someone who comes from the OG Ninja Gaiden 2, then try a higher difficulty. Trust me, you'll want to do that. And for those of y'all who are wondering if the infamous staircase fight has been closer to Ninja Gaiden 2 or if it's closer to Sigma 2, well, let's just put it this way. Before the patch, if you just played it straight from the beginning, when it first came out, then you were going to be playing Sigma 2's version of the staircase, which meant you're probably going to have like 4 to 5 enemies on screen at a time and nothing more than that. Whereas post-patch, it is now closer, not completely at all, like Ninja Gaiden 2's staircase fight, or, what am I calling it now? Staircase fight, yeah. It's not completely to that extent, but it is nonetheless closer to that. You're going to have way more enemies on screen than you would in Sigma 2 or the Master Collection version of 2. So just keep that in mind. Not quite 2, but close enough to 2 that I don't have any complaints. It's perfectly a adrenaline rush of a fight. Now, throughout the game, Ryu Hayabusa gains access to 9 melee weapons, each with unique strengths. From the legendary Dragon Sword to the rapid strikes of the Vigorian Flail and the devastating Lunar Staff, every weapon shines in a different scenario. 2 projectile weapons are available, which are the bow and the heavy gun. They provide you the range options you need to take down your enemies. And one of my personal favorite weapons is the tonfa, which honestly is great for chaining long combos and being pretty, finesse-like, especially if you like to do counters. It just does it for me, Now, I do have to be honest though, when it comes to the pacing of when you get weapons, it remains an issue, and this is something that was a bit of a problem with the original release, and it's still here with this modern one. Many weapons are introduced very early on, which leaves the later half of the game feeling truthfully sparse in terms of new gear. Now, this isn't anywhere near as bad as vanilla Ninja Gaiden 3, so don't get it twisted, don't don't crash out on me. But nonetheless, it's just one of those things where at least by the midway point, you're gonna have a good portion of, if not all of your arsenal at that point, with the exception of the True Dragon Sword. We'll get to that later. But nonetheless, it's also interesting in how you get many of the items or weapons particularly, because you'll get to a point where they're just randomly laying around, right? Different, which I know that was something that was in Ninja Gaiden 1 as well, but I felt like it made more sense in Ninja Gaiden 1 than it does in Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, and 2 Black. Just saying. Now, I do think that they should have incorporated the capability of making real-time weapon switching, which is something that would be akin to Devil May Cry, the seamless system, but they didn't. And I think if they had done that, then this would have been so fundamentally different from the original version of Ninja Gaiden 2 or even Sigma 2 that you might as well just make it a whole new game. So I understand why they didn't incorporate it, but after decades of being able to play games where you can switch weapons on the fly and make a combo, it's kind of a missed opportunity in my opinion. Now, despite these issues, the core elements like brutal gore and dismemberment, they do remain intact, adding to the game's signature style. Now, let's talk about the story and level design. Now, this game spans 17 chapters. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black's story picks up pretty much right after the first game, or right after the comic, if you are familiar with the comic, the Blood War, where they went up against the vampires. Now, in this game, Ryu is drawn into battle when CIA agent Sonya warns him of the Black Spider Clan's plot to steal the demon statue. And while the narrative isn't at all groundbreaking, it does have its moments, especially the climactic showdown against a formidable werewolf and also against Genshin, the primary ninja antagonist. The game's linear level design also ensures that players stay on track, which is aided by a mechanic that reorients Ryu in the correct direction with the press of a button. Now, I appreciate this change, as the original Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black leaned a bit more into the Metroidvania style approach with backtracking and respawning enemies. Granted, there's nothing wrong with that approach. I kind of do like that it added a bit of variety, but it makes sense why it's not here, because in the original game you're basically going out through the capital of the Gore Empire, whereas here you're pretty much going all over the world, so it makes sense why you can't. But there were capabilities of teleporting and fast traveling in the original game that could have, opened itself up to doing that in here, but they didn't include that. Now, I gotta talk about some additional content and omissions. Now, this version does introduce 3 extra chapters featuring Rachel, Ayane, and Momiji, which are borrowed from Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. Unfortunately, these segments, I feel the same way about them now as I did back when Sigma 2 came out, as I do feel like they disrupt the pace of the game. And this is mainly due to their limited move sets, which make them a lot less engaging than Ryu's sections. I would have preferred these as optional missions rather than mandatory segments, or at least give us some additional weapons that we could use with these characters. As it is, they just feel like watered down versions of Ryu with much smaller movesets. It makes sense as you're pretty much only having these characters for one mission, but nonetheless, it's like, yeah. Now I'm wrapping everything up. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is truthfully a dream come true for longtime fans. It delivers a visually stunning remake that revitalizes one of the greatest action games ever made. More importantly, it introduces a new generation to the series, sparking fresh enthusiasm for Ninja Gaiden. And honestly, I haven't seen this many people talking about Ninja Gaiden ever. I mean, yes, in 2004, it was a genre defining game that people talked about, but you also had to keep in mind gaming in 2004 versus 2025, it ain't the same. It was nowhere near as mainstream as it was or as it is now back then. And that's just because gaming was still considered a kid thing, with the exception of the people who bought Madden and basketball all the time. Um, but it was very, and this is not to say it wasn't talked about or loved or admired back then. No, that was the game to play if you had an Xbox back then, along with Halo and other games as well. But it wasn't where it is now. And the amount of people talking about it now, even if we were to compare 2008's Ninja Gaiden 2, that wasn't at all lauded as highly as the original 2004 or even the 2005 release of Ninja Gaiden Black. So just keep that in mind if you're like, what is this guy talking about? It's not as popular. No, it was popular back then due to the size of the gaming market. But since the gaming market now is global and it's mainstream, the fact that mainstream people are playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is astronomical, which means that Ninja Gaiden 4 has to knock it out of the park. It cannot pull in Ninja Gaiden 3. Now, while there are pacing issues and missing content that can prevent it from being the quote-unquote ultimate definitive edition, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black remains one of the best action games in the genre. And if you're a fan of fast-paced, skill-based, and character-based action combat, then don't wait. Play Ninja Gaiden 2 Black right now. And honestly, after getting the last decade to almost 2 decades of nothing but various iterations on the Soulsborne style of games, it feels good when games like this, Devil May Cry 5 and Bayonetta 3, can still change the industry. And with that being said, guys, that's the review of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Again, thank you to Koei-Tecmo for the review copy. Why don't you guys let me know what you think of this review, or also what you think of this game? Is this something you want to pick up? Is something you're considering playing? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, have aloha. Also, pick up the physical copy that's available. I believe it's exclusive through one of these online retailers. I'll leave a link down below. But pick that up and support this release. I'm definitely doing it. I've already spent money on one copy. I think I need to go get a second one too. And yeah, it feels good that the Master Ninja franchise is back. And also, I gotta put this out there too. It is crazy as someone who's been gaming for like 3 decades, that Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi, the two fathers, the two daddies, the two zaddies of ninja action video games, are both back in the same year, both with 2D iterations. Crazy. What a time to be alive as a gamer. All that being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, have aloha. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, and a hui ho.